Hi guys. So recently I bought the Poco M2 Pro in the Big Billion sale at 12,000. So I'd like to give my review or experience that I had with the Poco M2 Pro after 4 to 5 days of using the phone. And I want to give a comparison of this phone with the Realme 6 because previously I used Realme 6 and tell you because the Realme 6 is very similar to the Realme 7. This will give you a pretty good idea if you should buy the Realme 7 or the Poco M2 Pro. So right off the bat, this is a 4 GB 64 GB variant, and the first thing that comes to mind is the display. So this has a 6.7-inch display in comparison to the 6.5-inch display in the Realme 6 and 7 because both have the same display with the same refresh rate, which is 90 Hz max, but this has a 60 Hz refresh rate display. So in terms of everyday usage, you will not find yourself using the 90 Hz display, although there is a slight noticeable difference between 60 and 90 Hz, but you will not feel that much of a difference and you will end up losing more battery life in a 90 Hz. So in my usage of the Realme 6, I ended up using the 60 Hz display most of the time. So the refresh rate is not a factor for us in this matter. So coming to the display clarity and the contrast ratios, the sharpness of the display is slightly better on the Poco M2 Pro, and the Realme 6 or 7 has slightly better contrast ratios, giving you better blacks. Although this will give you better whites, but you will find the display to be more sharper in this. So that's about the difference between the displays. But coming to the physical aspect of the display, this is a 6.67, a massive full HD display. So this feels significantly bigger due to one more reason. So I like the display more on this Poco M2 Pro than the Realme 6 or 7 because this display has the notch, not the notch, the punch hole in the center. So this is very symmetric. So you will not notice the punch hole as much as you would in the Realme 6 or 7, which is on the top left. So you will not find it obstructive or taking up more space. So this blends into the display more. So this feels much more symmetric and gives a wider display. So the next point that I want to make is the day-to-day performance. So this comes with 720G obviously, and it's based on an 8 nanometer architecture, while the Realme 6 is on G90T 12 nanometer architecture, and the Realme 7 a bigger brother of G90T, which is G95, and the same 12 nanometer architecture. But the 8 nanometer architecture is more power efficient and it is noticeable in terms of screen on time and battery life. You will get about an hour and a half more battery life in this. So when I talk about the day-to-day performance, you will not find any difference between the Realme 6 and 7 and the Poco M2 Pro because in everyday performance there is not much difference in because I mostly use WhatsApp, YouTube and all these average apps only, so I did not feel any difference. So coming to the next point, which is the UI. In the user interface, I did not find any much difference because both are based on Android 10, and this Poco M2 Pro comes with the Realme MIUI 12.0, which is a stable version. And there are many features in this MIUI 12.0, such as you have a separate notification panel on the left, and you have a control center on the right, and you have something like uh, a floating window, etc., and many more features that are there in MIUI 12. And it feels pretty much closer to stock Android from its icons and because of the Poco launcher. And the Realme UI is very close to stock Android and it feels very smooth, but they are pretty much the same and give the same performance. So there is no winner here in terms of the software. So coming to the camera on paper in the Poco M2 Pro is a 48 megapixel sensor. This is a Samsung ISO sensor with a quad camera setup, and the Realme 6 and 7 come with a Sony 48 megapixel, sorry, Sony 64 megapixel sensor with the same quad camera setup. So there is not much difference again in terms of the picture quality. There is only difference when you talk about the image processing. So the colors turn out to be better in the Poco M2 Pro because of the better image processing in the Poco M2 Pro. So it's a matter of personal preference when it comes to the cameras. So talking about the build and design, the build on this Poco M2 Pro is a glass build clearly, and obviously although it comes with a Gorilla Glass 5, this is definitely fragile. So if you put it down, it is going to break. So but there is a catch to this because most of us will be using a cover anyway, so it does not make a difference whether you get a glass or a plastic bag now. So obviously in terms of build this is better. Why? Because this has a better in hand feel and it is overall a good package with a better design. Personally, I like this in comparison to the Realme 6 or 7, which come with the plastic bags. They do not feel bad, but this has a weight to it and a premium feel to it. So I prefer the Poco M2 Pro in terms of build and design. So the next point will be the charging speed. The charging speed is certainly better on the Realme 6 and 7 due to the VOOC charge. There is no better technology in the market than the VOOC charge, which charges it in just 1 hour for sure. But the Poco M2 Pro, with its 33-watt fast charger, still takes extra 15 to 30 minutes to do 0 to 100. You will be charging it around 1 hour 15 to 1 hour 30 minutes to full charge it. But that's not a big deal because this comes at a trade-off, because the battery life in the Poco M2 Pro is about an hour and 1.5 hour more due to its 720 GB processor, so it's more power efficient. So if you are someone who travels a lot and does not find time to charge your phone, so charging it for an extra 15 minutes will end up giving you about more than 1.5 hour to nearly 2 hours of charge battery life. So this is a small trade-off. So in conclusion, I would say that the Poco M2 Pro is my choice if you have to buy the phone, ignoring the 60 Hz to 90 Hz panel because it's not much noticeable difference, and a major plus with the 720G processor, which is much more stable in the long term, and there's support for Gcam, and you will have further custom ROM supports if you are interested in that. And the display, in my opinion, is better in the Poco M2 Pro due to its symmetry and the clarity.